The two works that I've contributed to this exhibition are both examples of practice-led research, so that's where I'm taking fashion design and using that as a vehicle for socio-political commentary. Today, fashion manufacturers and consumers are becoming increasingly aware of the environmental impacts and the social consequences of the clothing that we manufacture, wear and discard. But one area that's largely escaped scrutiny is the use of non-human animals in clothing. There have been some renewed and largely successful campaigns against the use of fur, but the use of domesticated animals appears to be fair game. The 2016 Intellectual Fashion Show provided an opportunity for fashion designers and other creatives across New Zealand to produce a work that would respond to June Black's 1959 exhibition into metaphorical costumes. On being invited to take part, I decided to use this opportunity to produce a creative work that responded to the current research that I was undertaking about the use of leather. There was a list of about 70 possible themes, and from that I chose a costume for a noble discontent. Now, animal activism often uses disturbing imagery to shock its audience, but I decided to take a different approach. I looked at the SAFE website, and on there I found a poignant picture of a 4-day-old bobby calf waiting in a holding pen, being ready to be picked up for slaughter. The image was taken by an organisation called Farm Watch, and they were happy for me to use the photograph. I decided to make a textile out of this image, which I would then digitally print onto organic cotton. To do this, I cropped the image and then stacked it in an offset brick repeat pattern so that from a distance it gave the appearance of a traditional motif fabric that could almost be geometric or floral in its design. I also decided to continue that sense of restraint in the garment design. So to do that, I chose to put the fabric into a 1950s but quite unassuming day dress design. I used quite concentrated pleating around the waist and around the collar, so this again further disrupted the image and emphasised that geometric nature of the print. So if someone was viewing this garment at the exhibition, they would have to get quite close to it to see the image of the bobby calf's face. If they didn't see that, they might stand back and at a distance see the white vegan leather shoes that the garment was paired back with. And next to the shoes was the open box that the shoes had come in. And on the inside of the box lid, it said, "We are a vegan company. No animals were hurt in making these shoes." All of the works in the show also carried a small swing card. My swing card gave the dictionary definition of the words noble and discontent. After that followed a statement that prompted the reader to interrogate their own understanding of leather as being the preeminent textile for designer or high-end footwear. It also challenged our value norms, specifically the cognitive dissonance that allows us to wear the skins of other animals as an expression of our fashionability. Of interest, the word noble comes from the Latin to know, which really speaks to this idea that knowing something occurs, but preferring not to think about it. In 2018, I was invited to create costumes for a dance project called Meet, choreographed and performed by a group called Dance Plant Collective. As the name suggests, the overriding focus of the dance was the meat industry. However, it did address other topics, including the environmental impacts of animal agriculture and the use of animals in clothing. For the costumes, I didn't want to create lifelike renditions of specific body parts, and I also wanted to avoid being graphic in terms of blood or anything too visceral. I wanted to treat the subject matter with sensitivity, respecting the lives of these animals. To do this, I used a sheer-based fabric, and I worked closely with textile designer Elise Lee to create a multi-layered effect with dyed and laser-cut backing fabric, which was then overlaid with Venus lattice work. This was again fabricated from multiple layers, this time using layers of glued and spray-painted fabrics, which was also laser-cut. Although the dance itself and the costumes sometimes brought home the shuddering brutality and the disturbing normalisation of animal slaughter, I wanted the costumes to retain some sort of delicacy, and I wanted to do this out of respect to the subjects at the heart of this creative work. In both cases, in the costume for a noble discontent and the dance costumes for meat. The message is visually explicit, but it's also delivered with some restraint. My aim in this is for the audience to be able to take in and take on board a message that is sometimes quite confronting about our use of farmed animals.